Hey, it's MK, and I am here with a Scraps to Embellishment video for you guys today, and I am also playing along with Christy's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches, and today's sketch is by Jessica Fenn Hill, and I'm going to incorporate the embellishments that I create today for Scraps to Embellishment, which is a hop by Ginger Bush, who is Ginger's Corner here on YouTube. So I'm going to use the sketch as interpretation of where my embellishments are going to go, but I'm going to create my embellishments based off of sketches, Ginger's inspiration for today. And today's inspiration was in the garage or in the home. And so let me double check, make sure that, yes, in the home or under construction is what it was. So more like remodeling and stuff like that. Well, I didn't have any remodel photos at this time, but I do have in the home photos, which is actually in the cabin. So I picked out a couple place settings that are part of the What's Cookin' Simple Stories scrapbook kit. And I picked out some florals that I fussy cut from a Minte pack. And then I've got 3 photos of my kids and then my husband and myself sitting around the little table that's in, actually this is in his dad's cabin, not our cabin. Our cabin, unfortunately, was on a second story, and his dad can't go up to the second story, so we mostly convened down in his cabin. So that's where our eating area is in the second story, which is weird. So I'm sharing with you guys the papers that I picked out. I got this green cardstock, which is red on the back, from a paper pad that I picked up at Joann, but I honestly can't remember which one it is. And then this one, I have no clue, especially when I flipped it over to the back side. It's like, oh man, I don't even know what wood grain that is. So I apologize about that one. It has no branding strip. It has no hangy hole, nothing. So I don't know if it was a Creative Memories. That sometimes works because it was on the thinner side for pattern paper. All right, so I took a couple stamps, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my background first before working on the embellishments, because inside Jessica's sketch, she has all of these really cool messy circles in 3 areas, which basically say these are where your clusters are going to go, and then she's got a title spot. So I'm going to take the one area that she has designated for the title spot and make it one giant cluster, and then have my 2 other clusters. Now, this is basically a guess of whether or not I am going to, whether or not my embellishments will fit here or not. But I'm okay with this type of, I guess, faux mixed media. I can't really call it mixed media when it's just stamping. But I am certainly okay with if this gets all covered up, in all honesty, because I don't know what my embellishments are yet. I don't know about my photos, how small can I trim them down, things like that. Now, these photos were taken by Nana, and so in all honesty, they did come out super dark. If I was to have made them smaller or cut them down or printed them on a 3x4 or even the 2x3s so I could get 4 on a 6x4 print, they would have just been so dark you wouldn't have been able to see everybody's faces. So in this case, I pretty much, in order for the picture to look its best, I had to print it on a 4x6. And I will be able to trim some of them down, cut out some of the white noise in the background, but not most of them. So I will not be able to basically place my photos the way Jessica does. But that's another challenge that I have to adapt and improvise a sketch for, because I'm not always going to have the exact same photos or size of photos that a sketch requires. So that's another thing that I take from the sketch what I can use, but I don't force myself to make sure that I am following the sketch to a T, if that makes any sense. So plus I didn't have any square photos. It's weird, I know. The only square photos that I really have are pictures that I purposely take of my 12x12 layouts. Other than that, I take my pictures in either horizontal or vertical alignment. I don't really change it up to a square photo just so I can have square photos. That's just weird. But I do take far away photos to where I can cut them down into square. Just for this particular case, I saw the rings as coffee marks, and that's where I pulled out my stamps, and that's when it led me to a at-home style of photos. So basically the sketch led me to what kind of photos I wanted to use. And then of course that led me to Ginger's prompt, and then it led me to this, and then it led me to that. And I apologize. I zoomed in so I could make each individual cluster so you guys could see it up close and personal. However, I didn't realize that I was working with them all the way up. But right now I do exactly what I do every time I create a embellishment is I divide and conquer. I make sure that each cluster has a flower cluster. I make sure that each one has some sort of dining furniture of some sort, whether it's the place setting or the forks and spoon or the actual table itself. And then I had 2 journaling spots as well as a title, a small title. So I made sure that each one of those got dispersed in a cluster, whichever one looked better. I have a heart for each one, and then I didn't have a ticket for each one, but I felt like I needed to add the colors into specific clusters. So this one got put together basically off camera, and I apologize about that. But like I said, it's all the same. I divide and conquer all of my goodies that I picked out for my clusters. Sometimes they all get used, sometimes they do not. This one here, I wished I would have taken that white space out from around the legs, but in the end, it doesn't matter because of the way that I put my clusters together. And I only know that because I saw the video before you guys did. I apologize. I'm a cheater. So, and I am giving these clusters a little bit of depth and dimension by adding pop foam underneath my heart, but that is the only thing that gets dimension. Everything else is nice and flat and layered up on top of each other, and then it's just deciding where this little heart is going to go. And I judged my hearts based off of what was missing as far as color in this cluster. So it's got a good pink into it, it's got a good yellow, it had a good green, it had all the colors but that darker green for the heart. And then this one here is also missing the dark green, but I felt like the dark green of the flowers are definitely prominent in this one instead of the other 2. So I cut out my my spoon and fork away from this plate, so it was a big giant plate setting, because I wanted to bring the cluster in a little bit more, and I really do. This is my favorite cluster right here, is the title cluster. I absolutely love this cluster. All right, so now I get to figure out how I want to put them all on the page. So I went through, like I said, I cut down my photos, I matted my photos on that green, and now I'm taking my scrap green piece of paper. It's the only one I had left, and I decided to use a border punch because in Jessica's, over on the left of her main photo, she has a sort of border punch, or even... it even does look like a notebook punch design over on the left of her large Polaroid photo. So I tried to set my photos up side by side, just like Jessica's, except that, like I said, my photos are a little bit larger, so they're not really working. So I decided to stack my photos all up. At first, this is looking really good until I start adding my embellishments. So this is exactly how I figure out how I'm going to make it work and how it doesn't end up going the way I expected it, because my clusters all ended up being a little bit on the larger side. Now, could I have gone without having 2 journaling spots? Absolutely. I could have not done that at all. I could have made them smaller by omitting the journaling spot, like right at this point. But I really liked it. In Jessica's, she's also got a little notebook piece of paper right behind the title. Now, mine isn't right behind the title, but it's above the title. And I moved my title up where I created a shelf with my photos. I had to, like I said, I had to adapt and improvise my photos. Instead of having them all in one line, it didn't work again, so I had to shift them to where now they're just a jumbled mess on my layout, because I had to make them work for me. Some of my stamping is going to get completely covered up. I didn't want the stamping to be bam and in your face anyways. That's why I picked a more tone on tone color for my stamping, because I didn't want it to be the star of the show. I want my embellishments, I want my photos, most of all, to be the star of my show. That's basically the name of the game, right, is the photos. And then I have this title. Again, it's the foam stickers by Simple Stories, What's Cooking, and it just says Around the Table, which I really love. So the first photo up at the top are my 4 children, and then the second photo down at the bottom are me and my husband with my oldest daughter and her 2 friends that she brought. And then the last photo is my 4 children with their cousin that joined us on this trip. So it was really cool. They had a lot of fun times at this table. I believe my daughter and her friends are having lunch, to be honest, because they just barely got there. And my kids and their cousin were playing a game, and I can't remember the name of it, but it has to do with cards and money. But I think the same money got rolled around, like it got split up, and then here's the winner, you got the whole pot, and then they split the money back up. I don't think that the money kept growing. So I went into my enamel dot stash and pulled out these. They're not really enamel dots. They're more like plastic dots from Stampin' Up. And then I'm going to add a little bit of splattering because I really feel like that gold plate is the only prominent gold on the layout. I didn't notice that because when I was building the clusters, I felt like there was gold in each cluster. But now that it is just this solid round gold piece, I felt like I needed to add a little bit more gold. So I'm just going to add some Dina Wakley gilt spray and splatter it all throughout. Now, right now, it doesn't look like it did a whole lot, but once it dries, it actually dries a golden umber and matches the plate really, really well. So I really like that. But as it's wet, it really doesn't look all that great in the close-ups. But that is my layout for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really have enjoyed doing these scraps to embellishments. Now, this one here basically didn't use any scraps at all. I used clusters and fussy cut out pieces. So I didn't really bring in my scraps because I don't have any left over from January. So once my stash builds back up, I'll start to use the scraps. Jessica, thank you so much for allowing us to use your wonderful sketch that you created for 30 days of sketches. Don't forget to check out all the links down below for those that are playing along with Ginger's Corner. I've got all their links down below for those that are making YouTube videos for Christy's Beautiful Life. I have that playlist link down below. I also have Christy's Facebook group link down below, so that way you can go check out past series, because series 14, that's a lot of sketches all in one Facebook group. So go check that out. And yeah, that's all that I got for you guys today. Thank you so much, and I will check y'all later.